Hi, sixth graders. We are still on Unit 8, and our topic is finding the area of composite figures. So make sure you label the top of your page with our topic. Composite figures is a word that you would want to write down. It is made up of different shapes. So it has two or more different shapes together to make a figure. So it has triangles, quadrilaterals, semicircles, and other two-dimensional figures. Something else that you want to write down, a word, a vocab word would be a semicircle, and that is half of a circle. So we have a circle, and then if we cut it in half, this part right here, that's kind of a bad circle, but this right here is a semicircle. It's like a half circle. So how do we find the area of composite figures? Well, let's look at this shape right here. So first I want to break it up into shapes that I already know how to find the area of. So break it up into a rectangle or a triangle or a trapezoid or a circle, because we already know how to find the area of those. So I can see that if I draw a line right here, I now have a triangle. So here's my first shape, and here's my second shape. I have a triangle and a rectangle. So I find the area of each of them, and then I add them together. So what I like to do is I like to draw the shape of whichever one that I'm finding the area of, kind of similar to how it looks. So this triangle, we're going to find that first. I know that the height, it tells me right here that the height of the triangle is 4. So I'm going to do h equals 4. And then I can see that the base, so let me get a different color here. This whole thing right here is 10. If this is 6 right here, then this base has to be 4, because 4 plus 6, 4 and 6 equals 10. So then the base is 4 also. Remember that the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So we have a base and we have a height, so now we can find the area. So the area of the triangle is going to be 4 times 4 divided by 2, which is 16 divided by 2, which is 8 inches squared. So that's the area of my triangle. Now let's find the area of the rectangle. So the rectangle, I know that the bottom, the length is 10, and then we're told over here, I don't know if you can see that, it's blocked for me, but it might not be for you, I don't know if it is, but it's 6. So then the area of a rectangle, we know we just multiply the length times the width, so the area is going to be 10 times 6, which equals 60 inches squared. And then our last step is that we just have to add them together. So sometimes we go through all that work and then we forget to add them together to get the entire area of the full figure. So then we do 60 plus 8 equals 68, and we make sure we have a label, so it's 68 inches squared. This one right here would be a really good one to have an example of. I think I have about 4 more that I'm doing. All of them would be great for you to write down because these ones are kind of tricky to find the area of. All right, so let's look at this one. You could try this one on your own because it's a little bit similar to the one we just did. Again, we have a triangle and a rectangle. Some might break it up a little bit differently, but I'm going to break it up like this again. So if I can see that my rectangle, so first of all, I have a triangle and I have my rectangle. My rectangle is already labeled 12 by 4. And I'm just going to label it like this. So let's take off that equal sign that's bugging me. So now we have a 12 by 4. So the area we know of the rectangle is going to be 12 times 4, which is 48 feet squared. The triangle, on the other hand, so let's look at this. We have this right here is 8. I know that the whole thing across has to equal 12, so that means this has to equal 4, because 4 plus 8 equals 12. And then if we look at this whole height over here, okay, it tells me the whole thing is 10. This right here, so this part right here, new color. This is hard to do without being able to point at it. Right here is 4. Oops. Oh my goodness, sorry. Oh my gosh. Is 4, because we can see this is 4, which means that, and if the whole thing is 10, that means that from here to here then is going to be 6, because 6 plus 4 is 10. So now over here I can label this 6, and then my bottom is 4. Base times height divided by 2, that's my area. So here's my base, here's my height. Way too close to the side. It's too hard to do this. Oh my gosh. The 6 is the height. So now we have 4 times 6 divided by 2 equals 24 divided by 2, which is 12. So 12 feet squared. And then remember my last step, I have to add them together. So 48 plus 12 is 60. So the area of my whole figure right here is 60 feet squared. All right, on to the next one. So hopefully you have all this written down. I'm going to erase it so I can have room for my next figure. Okay, so if I can figure out how to do it. It's not letting me. There. All right, sorry about that. So we have a rectangle and we have a semicircle. So right here, we have a rectangle and then we have a half circle. So let's draw them both out. I'm going to draw my half circle and I'm going to draw my rectangle. Okay? It's nice to break it all apart and label it individually and then add it back together. So my rectangle is already labeled for us, 9 2/10 centimeters and then 1 5/10 centimeters. So the area, we know we just do the length times width. So I'm going to do 1.5 times 9.2 and I get 13.8 centimeters squared. All right, for my half circle, I know that, so let's see, let's get a different color. We know that this right here is 2.5 centimeters. The rest then is going to be the diameter because it's a line going from one side of the circle to the next. So that's my diameter. Because if I just kind of invisibly draw the rest of the circle, which that's a really bad part of the other circle, but now I can see that this line is the diameter if I draw the rest of the circle. Okay? So I'm going to erase that so it doesn't confuse us though. So now we know that we're given the diameter. So if this right here is 2.5, I'm going to take 9.2 and I'm going to subtract 2.5. So 9.2 minus 2.5 equals 6.7. So now I know that my diameter is 6.7 or 6 7/10 because 6 7/10 plus 2.5 equals 9.2. So let's refresh ourselves. The area of a full circle, so an actual circle, is pi times radius squared. Okay, So we need to know the radius. We just found out that the diameter is 6.7. Remember, in order to find the radius, I can take the diameter and divide it by 2. So we're going to do 6.7 divided by 2, and I get 3.35. So now I know that the radius, I'm going to label it right here, is 3.35. So now let's plug this in. I have 3.14, because that's pi, times 3.35 squared. So I do 3.35 squared first, 3.35 times 3.35, and I get 11, so 3.14 times 11 point, and I'm not going to round it quite yet, I'm just going to leave it like this, times 11.225. So now I do that times 3.14, and I get 35 point, I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth, so I get 35.23865. Rounding it to the nearest tenth is my 2. My 3 tells me that I keep it the same. So we have 35.2. Now that's for a full circle. Because it's a half circle, I'm going to take my area and I'm going to divide it by 2. Because this is just half of a circle. And that, again, is what people forget to do, is we do the whole thing and then we forget to divide it by 2. So now I'm going to do 35.2 divided by 2, and I get, I'm going to write it over here, 17.6. If you have more room in your notebook, you can just keep writing it like down over here. So the area of the half circle is 17.6 centimeters squared. And then here's the area of my rectangle. So then remember, we just need to add them together. So 17.6 plus 13.8 is 31.4 centimeters squared. Woo, that's a lot of work. So fun. Isn't it fun? I love it. All right, on to our next page. The diagram shows the pool from the beginning of, it's a pool from the beginning of the lesson in the book, which doesn't matter to you. But we want to find the area of this pool floor. So let's break it up into figures that we know. If you want to go ahead and do this on your own, awesome, okay? I can see right away that I have a rectangle, and then over here, I have a trapezoid. Totally just messed that up. So I'm going to take my green line off. Oops. All right, so my rectangle over here, I'm going to draw and I'm going to label it. I can see that it is 28 by 14. This 6 goes right on the bottom of the trapezoid, so we don't need to worry about the 6 yet. So let's find the area of the rectangle because that's pretty easy. 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 equals 392 feet squared. And then we have the trapezoid. This part that sticks out like the steps of the pool. I know my bottom base is 6. It tells me that the top right here is 4. And then it tells me that the height is 2. So remember that the area of a trapezoid, we have 1/2 times the height, and then we add the bases together. So let's plug in what we have. We have 1/2 times 2, because that's the height. I add my bases in here, so I have 4 plus 6. I do my parentheses first, so 1/2 times 2 times 10. I know 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 times 10 is 10. So the area of the steps would be 10 feet squared. And now I have to add these together. So 392 feet squared plus 10 feet squared. So the area of the whole entire rectangle, or the whole entire pool, is 492 feet squared. All right, here's my challenge for you. My challenge is that I would like you to attempt to find the area of this shape right here. I could give you a hint that if it was me, I would probably break it up right here so that I have a rectangle and a trapezoid. I want you to attempt this and show your work and show me in class tomorrow, and we are going to go through it in class at the beginning of class. So I want you to try it and have an answer. That is all that I have for you, so I will see you tomorrow.